the Murdoch family. What are you willing to sacrifice to get where you want to be? I'm Casey Chauhan, founder of togethercfo. Let's dig into it. The Murdochs. Rupert Murdoch has got a fantastic story, one of the most powerful men in the world, and controlled all these media outlets. So we're going to dig into the history of the family a little bit, and more importantly, how he structured himself and his kids so that they can then take over the empire, or will they? Stick around till the end, let's find out. So, Rupert Murdoch sold his company Foxcorp for around reported $71 billion. That's right, $71 billion. A crazy amount of money. And this apparently gave him a net worth of around 19 billion was his portion of that. And this is crazy. We're going to rewind the clock. They had over 150 different media outlets, and that just gave him so much control, not only in Australia, where he's originally from, but also the UK, in America, and globally. So let's get into the detail. So let's start with his dad. His dad was called Keith. Keith Murdoch was Rupert's father. He was smart, he loved journalism, and he studied in Oxford University all the way back in England. Once he graduated, he then moved over to Australia, where he struggled at first to get some jobs in journalism, and then he finally broke through. He went back to England, worked on his speech and some other elements until he was able to articulate himself, went back to Australia, and that's really where his career took off in the world of journalism. He was a really good journalist and very cunning. He would manage to intercept a letter during the war, which kind of allowed him to write this amazing piece and then become one of the key liaisons between the governments of Australia and the UK. Then he kind of became the superstar journalist that everybody wanted to consult and talk to, and that really started him off on the right foot. He went on to then edit and control some news outlets in Australia, growing his reach, working up the ranks, and then buying up more smaller news outlets. So very successful, very hardworking, and, you know, as you would imagine, a good role model for Rupert. So when Rupert came along and was growing up, Keith sent Rupert to Oxford back in England, Oxford University being one of the best universities in the world, and he did his studying there, which was great, and then he was ready for the real world. So after Rupert then finished his studies and started working, he stayed in England for a while after that. But unfortunately, Keith, his father, passed away when he was in his early 20s. So he then moved back to Australia to take over the then family empire. He didn't waste any time whatsoever. He went in, he totally crushed it. He expanded, he bought other news outlets in Australia. He then bought news outlets in the UK. He then went on and bought news outlets in the USA. So he was just boom, 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 growing constantly because he had this flair, this knack of being very dramatic, going after big headlines. And a lot of that we'll get to at the end when we get to the scandal pieces. But he was always pushing the boundaries in any direction he could, and he was willing to take great risks, which ultimately did lead to his demise. But in this expansion phase of his life, he went from the UK to Australia, took over the family empire, and kind of made it into something magnificent globally, right? So at this point, they've got Australia, UK, and the US all tied up in news media outlets. He then makes this bold decision that he wants to get into TV, which is unprecedented because he didn't know much about TV. So he bought 20th Century Fox. And again, this is a great example of him taking big risks and being bold, which is what a great leader would do, but it paid off, right? And one of the main reasons it paid off is he is always pushing boundaries, but strategically. He knows that, hey, TV and media are very closely linked and one can play off the other. He didn't go from a media outlet into a car manufacturing company. Two completely different things. He's adding different verticals in different ways, which I think makes all the difference. But being at the forefront of technology and kind of embracing that is helping him see different things and control things in different ways. A great example of that is Sky TV in the UK. They did the deal and they merged with Sky, which again increased the market share with the UK, US, Australia. It just keeps getting bigger every single time. So another example of that was with MySpace. They purchased MySpace for 500 million back in the day. Even though it ended up failing, at the time it was a huge success, but it just showed that Rupert really wasn't scared venturing into new industries, and ultimately that was one of the main reasons that they grew so rapidly, because he'd take on a new country, he'd take on a different vertical, even though it was adjacent, to kind of keep the momentum going. And we can see this in the TV show Succession, which is built around, or kind of the framework is around, the Murdoch family. Unfortunately, as in the show, spoiler alert, there's a lot of scandal, right? So the real world scandal, what happened was with a news outlet in the UK called the News of the World. There was a huge phone hacking, police bribing, and a lot of other scandalous things that went on, all in the name of grabbing a dramatic headline. Now, this is so extreme that it actually led for Rupert Murdoch to stand down from his positions, and then several people within his organization resigned because they were all implicit, or they kind of knew what was going on here and they let it slide. So they took responsibility for that. And throughout his time, he's actually had, it probably won't surprise you, but he's had many marriages. He's had like 3 or 4 different marriages, and he's got kids from most of them. And the way he set everything up is, upon his demise, things will be split equally between his 4 first children, which are all older ones. He's got 2 younger ones, but everything's going to be split. And he's also grown in his family an ethos or a culture where the kids would be rivals. Again, very similar to what is seen in Succession. Fantastic TV show. You should definitely go check that out. But the rivalry that he's put between his kids is very evident, with the 2 older girls not wanting anything to do with the family business. One of them is on board for the Times in the UK, and the other does her own thing with her own media outlet, but none of them are involved at a high level with the family empire. And the 2 boys, they again very publicly fighting it out between themselves. Lachlan and his brother. His brother actually stepped down from a very high-paying role with the family and kind of took a back seat. So it kind of leaves Lachlan in pole position to take over the family empire. But once his father, Rupert, passes away, control goes to all 4 of those kids. So who knows what will happen then and what that dynamic will be. But it goes to show you, having a private family foundation where you can nurture and develop the mindset of the kids can be a great thing or a terrible thing, depending on how you create that culture. So in this case, Rupert Murdoch has built a toxic fighting culture between the kids, because that's how he was in his business days when he was growing this massive multi-billion-dollar empire. So it would only be right that he would think that he would need to do that internally with his own kids to have them be successful. Whether you agree or disagree with that, let me know in the comments. But generally speaking, it's really important to put your values into the foundation so that when that gets passed on to the future generations, they can then expand on that and become a better version of where you left it. I think that's the key part, and that's what we see all these old money families that have a great family ethos. The Rothschilds are probably the best ones at this, where they have their annual retreats. New family members that get married into the family come and get educated on the family values. They go away together, they stay together, they do their planning meetings. And all these types of things is how you can influence the future generations and really create a positive mindset. Because once you're gone, that's really all you've left behind is, how did you think to achieve all that wealth? Because that's the key thing that's lost by the 3rd generation. So it's really critical and really important that that is shared with the future generations so that they can carry forward your will, whether that's charitable, whether it's just to grow the empire, whatever that is. There's no right or wrong. But if you don't transfer that knowledge and that power to the next generations, then you're not doing them a good service. the most tax efficient way to do that is with a private foundation. So speak to your CPA, speak to your financial advisor, make sure that they have given you all the options on how you can be set up just like the elites, like the Murdochs, but by using a private foundation, because it gives you that legacy piece, it gives you protection, it reduces that tax bracket significantly if done correctly. I'm Casey Chauhan, founder of Together CFO, and if you found this useful, why don't you click the link below and join our school community. We have a host of free tax saving ideas, thoughts, calculators, loopholes, foundations, and everything else in between. Our aim is just to help you save on money, protect your assets, create a lasting legacy. I'm Casey Chauhan, founder of Together CFO. Peace out.